And we're back with TSPN and the Supervisor Richard Forster with your supervisor report from our meeting of Tuesday, July 28, 2015. I want to start off just one thing quickly. There is a petition on the Amador County Transportation Commission website to log your opinion and your vote on Highway 16 relinquishment. Sacramento County has totally shut us out of the process as far as consideration for changes and inclusion of our minor points to go into bills for that interregional highway. They are getting over 1,000 comments now from people in Amador County, Sacramento County, Rancho Murieta area, just all over that this would be a terrible idea. Go on that ACTC or Amador County Transportation Commission website. Our Board of Supervisors meeting started off with a jail needs assessment update. This was from our Sheriff, Martin Ryan, and our General Services Director, John Hopkins. This needs to be done for a couple of purposes. One is for our SB or Senate Bill 863 application to apply for grant funding for jail improvements. We need that study done, or the update. The other is for capital facilities fees adjustment. So that is the reason that needs to happen. Jails were never intended to be prisons. We have our maximum sentence, according to Sheriff Ryan, is 6 years at this point. Could be a lot worse. LA County has an inmate who was sentenced to 42 years in county jail. Not the way it's supposed to work in our state, but because of our illustrious state and our legislators and governor, they are pushing many of those inmates who commit crimes to our counties. Numbers are projected in our study, which the jail needs assessment study, quite a voluminous document. Total beds right now are about 60 or 76 is what they're supposed to be. Our needs assessment shows in 2010, 159, 2020, 188, 2030, 217, and 2040, 243 beds will be needed. We need the programming space right now, so that's why we're going out for the grant from the state, but that needs assessment, one way or the other, needed to be done. The adult projections right now are relatively flat in our county, as are the arrests. So the arrests are even slightly down. Beds needed does include new development in the county, but it doesn't include things like casinos and other major developments. We just don't know if they're going forward. The programming space would obviously be one of the benefits of an expansion. Medical space, mental health, and then yard space would be other advantages that would make it much better for our county and the inmates that end up in jail. Next up, we had our Ag Advisor, Ag Commissioner in Patty Lesky, talking about the 2014 Crop and Livestock Report. This is a mandated report, but on the report this year we had Dick Cooper, who was highlighted on the cover of that report, and main reason why is because he was the local business person of the year, and USDA recognized him as the soil conservationist of the year. Primarily, the biggest thing that Dick has done, he's been an innovator in the ag industry. He was I think he's called the godfather of Barbera in Amador County. In the crop report itself, notable things are timber production, as we might guess, is way down, because even if you have timber that you can harvest now, there's not very many places and that can process it. Most of them are full. The other notables are the cattle and livestock were noticeably up because the price of livestock is up, and that's kind of the way the industry works. But the viticulture industry, the wine grapes, were off about 3 million. I thought that'd be predominantly because of the drought, but it has more to do with that. It has more to do with ag in general and what the prices are that people are getting for their grapes. So ag industry is tough. Sometimes you make money, sometimes you lose money, as the kids at the Amador County Fair found out. The hogs and the steers did very well. The sheep and the goats did very poorly. So that's the way it is with ag sometimes. Next up, we have Susan Manning was in, and Kelly Reason, our animal director, talking about the $9 for 9 Lives program. This is a great program that goes off the normal price. Normally it's $50 per animal. When we have a lot of animals in the shelter, you can adopt for $20, and that includes all vaccinations. You get a healthy animal, you get a healthy cat. Now, this time of year, we're doing the $9 for 9 lives events. So for $9, you can get a healthy pet that can be a lifelong friend and a member of your family. It benefits the animal shelter because it costs about $10 per day per animal to take care of those dogs, cats, other animals, critters that are in the shelter. They have 75 cats that are in the animal shelter now. That's at an all-time high. This program will run in August, so don't go running to the shelter until August 1st, or the first day the shelter is open. But they have a promotion committee that came up with this, and this is in conjunction with a national campaign that's going on for adoption, and this is all to try and save the cats and other animals from euthanasia. We'd much rather have a euthanasia-free facility, so we're going in that direction. And make your way to the shelter in August and adopt an animal for a cat for $9. We have a couple requests for variances that were approved by the board. Not going to spend a lot of time on these. The first was for a gentleman that had putting up a building that was 2 feet from the end of his leach line. Because of the elevation and the grade, our environmental health director, Mike Israel, felt this was appropriate to allow a variance here. The board did approve that. The second was a issue, and I'm going to move on to the big issue that was on the agenda because it's going to take some time, but Board of Supervisors had a request from Supervisor Lynn Morgan to approve an interim emergency ordinance that would essentially put a moratorium on the permitting and construction of formula businesses in Supervisorial District 3, pending adoption of a more comprehensive zoning regulations. And that pending would be our next agenda item, which was discussion on the adoption of a resolution of intention to amend the Amador County codes as it relates to formula businesses and regulations that apply to those. Now, what is intended by formula businesses, without putting a name on it, it's those businesses that are basically nationally owned businesses that, like Walmart, like Kmart, I guess, even though Kmart's not doing too well right now. Walmart, Target. The problem is, where do you stop? Because you can go into stores like Trader Joe's, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Reeby Auto Parts, Starbucks. Now, specifically, though, it's hard not to put a name on this one because Dollar General was the key here, because Dollar General has built in Pine Grove. Now their intention is to build in the Buckhorn area. It's kind of the model of the business. I can see why people are upset because this is running through the process, but it's going into basically a commercially zoned lot that is surrounded by homes. It's the Meadow Lane up in the Buckhorn area. And if I was a supervisor in the area, I'd probably be trying to be doing the same thing here to find a way to at least make some standards go into place. Now, our building department and our planning department is well aware of this situation. They're doing the plan review at this time. Dollar General has submitted their application. So they're looking at the impacts on transportation, on local roads, as well as the state highway. Caltrans has sent a letter noticing the county that they want this looked at because they feel it could be a health and safety concern with traffic going out on the highway. What Supervisor Morgan wanted was a comprehensive solution, developing sensible legal standards for those formula-type stores. That may come down the road, but right now we're going to rely on our planning department to do that. The problem with our board is that we have a process in place right now. The interim emergency ordinance would go into place, and it was slated to go in prior to the building permit being approved by planning. My problem is that the building permit has been applied for. If you go ahead and do something like this in the interim, it seems pretty clear from website chatter dealing with this, and it seems pretty clear from the direction that we're looking at, that the intent would be to stop the Dollar General from going in without those regulations being put into place. I think you're looking at a situation where the county might be setting itself up to get a lawsuit, and I don't really look favorably on that. I do think that we need to come back and look at this issue and try to get some kind of regulations put in, not just on formula stores, but on any stores that go in, that there are reasonable standards like curbs, gutters, sidewalks, road improvements, health and safety on our roadways because of traffic, restrooms in the buildings, the way Dollar General is set up, or any building right now that goes in, they do not have to have public restrooms. So those kind of things need to be addressed and need to be addressed at some point in the near future. So there were good points made yesterday. The board on a 4-to-1 vote just felt that this was something that was trying to be specific to one project, and we need to look at this in a more comprehensive fashion. The board did take a position on state and local transportation and infrastructure funding at our board meeting. This issue was brought about because of information from California State Association of Counties talking about what are the options in the future for raising funding for our highway infrastructure. You have everything from bond monies to sales tax to vehicle license fees to user road fees on the roadways. So our board basically looked at the letter that was put in our packet and modified it slightly, so that we will be sending a letter off to our elected representatives. The board took action to support the Resilient Forest Act of 2015 at the federal level, and the board took action opposing Senate Bill 762, which actually takes people that have gone through valid apprenticeship programs and is Xing them out unless they are associated with a union. We don't think that's the right way to go. So with that, that's all I have. 223-6470 if you have any discussion or questions for the Board of Supervisors. And this Supervisor Richard Forster will talk to you in a couple